we are assembling one of the witch cards. It's Haley. So I made 3 witches because 3 is the magical number. I was trying to get my computer to come up so I can, one of them's, there's Haley, Hilda, and Hazel, I think. Let me look at what I named them. Haley, Hazel, and Hilda. So this one is Hazel. And this one is Hilda. And then this one here that we're going to assemble together is Haley. Now their assembly is very similar, so that's why I have these 2 put together already. The main difference is in their hair. So these 2, you can see their hair is up, so their body piece, because the bodies and the moon with the tree, these are all doubled, and so they're the same. Haley has long hair. Let me pull out her piece. Here's her moon. I have these drying under my mat. So her body piece, I had to think of a way to keep her hands flesh colored and for you to know where to put her head. So I decided that her double piece, whatever color you make this back piece, should be the color of her hair. And then we'll put her face on. Now you see where it goes, and then her hair comes over on the top. Okay, so that's the only difference between this one and the others. Now on the base, I have already put the panels on, and I've done all the folding on the score lines. And my black paper is very thick. So, I had to go wash my hands after doing those other 2, because when you put glue on this black paper, the black gets on your fingers. So I do have to hold this down just a little bit longer than I usually do because of the thickness of this black, to make sure that it stays down. So what we're doing is we're gluing this 1/4 inch space here down to the inside, and you do that by folding your score lines down and then up. Okay, this helps the card stay open when you hold it, because I noticed on some of the other pop-up cards I've done, when you pick them up, they close on and you can't really hold them. But these, because of this 1/4 inch spacing that puts the top and the bottom down into the box, you can actually hold it without it closing on you. So you want to do that to all 4 sides. Now again, these pieces are doubled, so I've already glued them together, put them under my mat so they would dry flat. This card will fit in a 5x7 envelope. So it's standard postage for mailing, which is getting higher and higher. So it's nice that you don't have to pay even more to mail the card, I guess in the US, because I recently found out that standard sizes in the UK are different. Okay, so now I'm going to just set this aside and let it dry. And I'm going to pull my moon in first. So I didn't really have a color I liked for my moon. So I picked this. I don't know. I don't know what color this is, but so I want it to be kind of glowing. So I'm going to use my orange ink pad. Now this is an old color box ink pad. So if you're using these new harder ink pads, make sure you're using some kind of dauber, okay? But this I'm just going to use directly on, and I'm putting more pressure along the edge and just letting it skim over the top because I really don't like this color, so I'm trying to change it. And it just kind of gives a glowing effect going down to the center. So I've got it at an angle so that it's touching lighter towards the center. And then I'm gonna do inside my little cutouts a little bit. You want to make sure you put your moon on first. It goes on before you put your tree. Okay, just like that. And now my tree, I'm using an older ink pad. These I pick up at Tuesday morning, and a lot of times they do still have these squares, and they're the soft pads so that you can use them directly on your projects. Tuesday morning, if you have one, check and see if they have these little square ink pads. I'm not going to hit all the branches, but just a few, just to try to give a little bit more contrast to the tree. I chose to do it in black. And then it's just going to line right up on here. The most important thing, because both of mine are off a little bit, the most important thing is to not let it go over this edge here, your side edge, because this is right up against the card, and if your tree were coming over, then it would affect how this card could open. Okay, so that's the most important thing when you're putting this piece on. Make sure the bottom is lined up. And I'm using my fine tip glue bottle and just getting enough glue on all the tree branches so that they stay down. I'm going to use my fingers here to guide the tree into place. And then before I let it sit down, guide that one. So now everything else should just fall where it needs to be. Just like that. Okay. And because this piece is so tall and I don't want my card to curve when it's open, I'm going to put this back under my mat while we work on the witch. Okay, so her face goes together similar to the, I've got a glue glob here on the end of this. Goes together similar to the Nutcracker dancers. So you have to put her mouth on first, okay? So put her mouth on, make sure it doesn't go over her eyes. There we are. And then put the oval for her eyes on. And then I'm going to use my ink directly on her and give her some rosy cheeks. Chalking works if you don't have ink. So there's her face. Now I cut her dress in red, and I want to just kind of give her dress a little bit more dimension. So I'm just gonna try to do all my edges here on the top piece. Let's see, that's one thing I don't like about inking. I like to ink over the floor because of the little pieces that come off the foam pads. Okay. So my paper had a defect, but that's going to be covered by the dress, so that doesn't matter. So now I'm just going to layer these two pieces together, and the dresses are the same on each witch. Okay, and then her hat, and I think I want to use a little bit of the white. Okay. Now you want to put her dress on first. Uh-oh. That didn't dry together very well. Make sure. I'm going to have to add a little bit more glue right here. There we go. Okay, and you can see the reason why I like to do the dress first is because her head is going to just right there against the dress. So I want to make sure her head is on top of the dress. Okay, so then the next piece is her head, and on all three of them you put the heads on before the hair. Now her hair, I think I'm going to use, I don't know if this will show up, but I hope it does. Yeah. Let's see what color that is. It's horrible because I can't read it. Oh, thatched straw is what it says. There we go. Okay. And even though these pads are soft, they're not as soft as these other foam pads, so I don't use these directly on my projects. And then her hair goes, just lines up right to the outside, okay? So let's get this in place. Made a little mess there on her dress. Hopefully that'll just come off. There we go. And then obviously you can see where her hat goes. And that completes our witch. And this is Haley. So I'm going to slide her under my mat as well while we work on the cauldron. So I'm going to add some contrast here to the pot. And I'm going to mention now, when you're doing these pop-up cards, you have to be really careful of adding dimensional dots, because when the card closes, everything goes down inside. So this 2-inch space, you don't want to add any dimension to anything that's below 2 inches, but you see it, you've got 2 inches here. So if you wanted, you could add some dimension here to the bubbles. You could do the hat. You would not want to add dimension to your tree because it goes all the way to the bottom, and that would affect this bottom part closing correctly. So for my bubbles, I'm just going to put the glue here on the bottom half because the top of them go up over the pot, and I just want it to look neat. And then you just have, I think it's 5 bubbles. And so you just kind of want to space them around. Or if you don't want to use them, you can just cut the centerpiece. I think it looks fine as well. Okay, and there's our cauldron. Now we're ready to assemble. These turned out so cute. I'm really pleased with how it turned out. So the one thing I do like to do is I like whoopsie. I like to put everything in so that I know where it's going. And I'm going to warn you that the slot for the cauldron is tight, okay? So it fits. You just have to work it in there. And now I'm going to pull these out like this. Now on your tree, you see how the tree is off center from the piece that goes in. So when you get it in, slide it down through the bottom. You want to make sure you have it over to the opposite side that the tree is on. You can see it's right there, right on the edge. So you want to make sure it's over in the slot. There is just a little bit of wiggle room, so you want to push it all the way to the opposite side, okay? Or it will interfere with your card opening. Then you flip it over. We're going to glue the tab onto the bottom. Just holding it a few seconds just to make sure it's stuck good. Okay, and flip it back over, and then these pieces you're working with upside down. So you can see, it's the right size. So let me slide in. There we go. it over, turn your tab up, glue it to the bottom. There we are. Now flip it back over. And this is your centerpiece, which is your center. And that one, so you just want to make sure your girl is centered. And then we're going to flip this bottom tab up and we're going to glue it down to the center, to the witch here. And again, you know, my black is so thick, I have to hold it a few extra seconds to make sure that it's adhering well. Okay, so I have that piece down, and now we're going to do the same thing to this tab on the top. Be careful not to use too much glue because you don't want it to ooze out, and glue your card shut. But you do want to make sure you get these tabs glued down good to your center so that when you push this up, this top piece lifts as well. Okay. And then we're going to turn this tab up and have the top tab down. And we're going to glue these two tabs together. Being careful not to put too much glue, because we don't want it to ooze out and again glue our card shut, but we want enough so that it holds together. And this is kind of thick through here, so to get this top tab you just have to apply a little more pressure, and then you should always check it. That's not stuck together really good. I'm going to squeeze this together just a little bit more, make sure that top tab is stuck down. Okay, so you can see we've got our tabs, and when I push it up, all the pieces are moving, and that's what you want to see. And then you can close it up. And those are our three witches, Haley, Hilda, and Hazel. Thank you for joining me.